Okay guys, welcome back. It's now time for part 2 of my VHS collection 2015 edition. Where we last left off, I showed you Christmas Story. Now let's get back to it. Next tape is 1993 VHS of Dennis the Menace. America's classic kid and a classic comedy. Stars Walter Matthau and Mason Gamble. Here's the spine and back, and my dad just got home. Ignore that, that's just the garage. Hey, Mr. Wilson! It captures the Home Alone magic, says Susan Granger of CRN and American Movie Classics. Rated PG for comedic mischief and 96 minutes is the running time. Here's the ink label. Printed on September 20th, 1993. And yeah, clamshell's not in the best condition, but tape still plays okay. And right here I have the sequel, the 1998 sequel, Dennis the Menace Strikes Again, which this is actually a direct-to-video film. Here's the spine and the back. Dennis the Menace is back in an all-new feature-length family comedy. This stars Don Rickles, George Kennedy, Justin Cooper, Rondell Murray, Carrot Top, and Betty White. Yeah, Justin Cooper played in Liar Liar, which I also have on VHS, and I'll show you that in another part. Rated G, 85 minutes. Here's the ink label. Printed on June 3rd, 1998. And next up I have the 1994 VHS of D2 The Mighty Ducks with Emilio Estevez. I also had the first Mighty Ducks movie, but I'll show that in another part. And I also have the third one, which I'll show after this, but twice as many laughs as the original, says Jeffrey Lyons of Sneak Previews. Here's the spine and the back. D2 rates an A, says 60-second preview. Duck Power triumphs again, says American Movie Classics. Rated PG, and it's 107 minutes. Know quite a bit of users have this tape. Here's the ink label. Printed on July 15th, 1994. And I gotta say, out of all the films in the Mighty Ducks trilogy, this one's by far my favorite. And next up I have the other sequel, D3 The Mighty Ducks, 1996 film, 1997 VHS. Far and away the best ducks yet, says KNX Radio / CBS Radio. Here's the spine and the back. Packed with action, suspense, packed with action, slapstick, hijinks, and all the glorious stuff in the movie, says The Hollywood Reporter. Kind of screwed up on that tagline. The Quack Attack is back, says USA Today. Rated PG, and it's 104 minutes. Here's the ink label. Sorry, I got a little... Hold on a minute. Ink label. Printed on November 22nd, 1996. This sequel was not bad, but it's not as good as the first two. The only major downside is that Emilio Estevez only appears in like 30 or 40% of the movies. So, because for those who've seen this movie, the Mighty Ducks get a new coach. Okay, next up, excuse me. Next up is the 2001 VHS of The Emperor's New Groove. The film itself is from 2000. Here's the front, the spine, and the back. The grooviest animated trip since Aladdin, says USA Today. It includes the Sting music video featuring the song My Funny Friend and Me. It's featured on the Emperor's New Groove soundtrack. And this is rated G, 77 minutes. David Spade, John Goodman, Patrick Warburton are at the kit. Here's the ink label. And print date is April 5th, 2001. I know you couldn't see it, but there it was. And next up is one of the most classic, cherished movies of all time. It's the 1996 VHS of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the story that touched the world, featuring special interviews with Steven Spielberg and members of the cast and production team. This is the special edition VHS, and I'm covering up that address so that way you guys don't see it and call that person who previously owned this tape. This is THX certified. Here's the spine and the back. This movie was nominated for 9 Academy Awards. This is rated PG and it's 115 minutes. 1982 film. Here's the ink label. There you go. And I also have the original 1988 VHS, which I'll show that in another part. And I think I've also heard some rumors going around that they made a 1983 VHS release of E.T. by MCA Video Cassette Inc. I wouldn't know. If anybody knows that exists, please tell me. So I'm probably going to get that if I can find it. If it exists. Next up is the 1997 VHS of First Kid with Sinbad, who I think is very funny. Sinbad's a really funny comedian. Disney's best comedy in years, says KNX Radio / CBS Radio. Here's the spine and the back. This is a 1996 film. Real funny. The entire family will love First Kid, says the American Urban Radio Networks. Also stars Timothy Busfield, Bill Cobbs, Art LaFleur. This is actually directed by David Mickey Evans, who directed The Sandlot, which also starred Art LaFleur. This also stars Brock Pierce, who played young Gordon Bombay in The Mighty Ducks. Here's the ink label, printed on July 28th, 1997. Next up is the 1996 VHS of Flipper, based off the TV series from the 1960s. Stars Paul Hogan and Elijah Wood. Sandy thought he was in for another boring summer. Instead, he got the adventure of a lifetime. Here's the front, spine, and back. You're going to flip over Flipper, says American Movie Classics. Rated PG and it's 96 minutes. Here's the ink label, kind of like the ink label with the blue lettering, kind of like my VHS VT that I just showed. Next up is the 1998 VHS of Flubber with the late Robin Williams. Yeah, I miss Robin Williams. Everyone does. But here's the front, spine, and the back. Outrageously funny, says the WBAI Radio Network. And this was produced by John Hughes. This is actually at the time when John Hughes was actually going downhill a little bit. Started making stuff that really wasn't all that great. But this is rated PG and it's 94 minutes. And there's the ink label, printed on March 15th, 1998. And there's actually some ads in these tapes, but I'm not really going to go through them because that would take up way too much time. Next up is the 1994 VHS of Fox and the Hound, another great Disney animated film. Here's the spine and the back. Superior, a landmark Disney film, says Joel Siegel of Good Morning America. This movie's actually from 1981. This was the last movie to use Buena Vista logo before they switched to the 1985 to the Walt Disney Pictures logo in 1985, which the first film to use that was Black Cauldron. Here's the ink label, printed on January 3rd, 1994. This has a brief behind-the-scenes look at a brief behind-the-scenes sneak preview at Lion King at the beginning, and there's also some copies of this tape that have a preview for the Return of Jafar after the Lion King trailer, and there's some that don't have it. My copy does not have it, although I did back in the day. I used to have a copy that did actually have it. But anyways, next up is the 1993 VHS of Free Willy. How far would you go for a friend? The most rousing family adventure since E.T., says Bob Campbell of Newhouse News Service. A 12-year-old street kid, a 3-ton orca whale, a friendship you can never imagine, an adventure you'll never forget. Here's the spine and the back. Pure magic, you will cheer, says Joel Siegel, Good Morning America of ABC TV. The first time I actually saw this movie, I was actually at my grandma's house, and and my cousin brought over some movies, and apparently this was one of them, so. Here's the ink label, printed on November 28th, 1993. Okay. And next up is the 1995 VHS of Free Willy 2, The Adventure Home, which is the sequel. Smarter and more endearing than the original, the ideal family movie, says Karen James of New York Times. And I have to agree with that. Here's the spine and the back. A wonderful action-packed adventure, says Neil Rosen of New York One News, WLHE-TV. Rated PG for mild language and mild peril. And it's 98 minutes. Here's the ink label, printed on October 25th, 1995. And Free Willy was rated PG for mild language, and it's 112 minutes. I think I forgot to mention that. And the first two Free Willy films actually have music by the late Michael Jackson, who did pretty good songs. And the last tape we're going to show for this part is the final film of the Free Willy trilogy, Free Willy 3, The Rescue. The best of the Free Willy pictures, says Siskel and Ebert. I do not agree with them, because this is probably the weakest out of the whole trilogy. A whale of a tale for the whole family, says David Sheehan of CBS TV. This is rated PG for thematic elements involving whale hunting and brief language, and it's 86 minutes. Ink label, printed on October 22nd, 1997. That's going to do it for part 2 of my VHS collection 2015 edition, and I'll see you guys in part 3 coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that.